I want to go on a journey to find good examples of climate leadership. What is a great climate leader and why are we not seeing more of them? Because the one thing I could see missing in the whole of this climate problem was good leadership.
The wild scaremongering.
There goes Mr. fucking carbon tax.
Tim did not create climate change.
When people start playing the man rather than the ball, they're losing.
This should be a warning to politicians.
People then sort of go forward into the future hugging the past.
There are thousands of pastries we're going to go underwater.
We've wasted 10 years.
You know, we do have a seat missing at the table.
I think we've really had a dearth of political leadership.
I don't know if I'm a good leader, but I do know this needs to happen.
Climate policy has been weaponised.
All of the things about this beautiful earth, we could lose them.
Do we have leaders of sufficient calibre and skill? This is the single most important question.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Screen Watching interview. I'm Simon Foster. Climate Changes is a snapshot of where we are at in the fight against global warming, how we got here and what it all means to the man who has fought the hardest for many decades to right the wrongs of global warming. That legend is Tim Flannery. I'm joined today by the man who pointed the camera at him and got some incredible footage and shows some incredible insight into the man himself. JOHAN GABRIELSSON, welcome to the Screen Watching interviews.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me here.
Before we get into the details of Mr. Flannery and of the global warming issue, I do want to congratulate you on shooting the Hawkesbury region so beautifully. It is one of the most picturesque parts of this state, and it's not often spoken of in that way, but your camera captures it just wonderfully.
That's very kind of you. I had an amazing cinematographer, Justin Kerrigan, who basically, we talked before the film that we wanted to make the film also about where Tim has his place, where he spent a lot of the time, and also the beautiful Hawkesbury serve as a theme, that it is so beautiful. And when you wake up there in the mornings, you almost think you are in some beautiful valley in PNG. But even though it's so beautiful, it does have an imprint of climate change, you know? Yes. So I hope that it kind of serves as an alarm clock, that wherever we are and we see this beautiful Australia, but it might not be a fire, it might not be a flood, but there's climate change going on there, but we can't see it.
Yeah, which is of course mentioned in the film when he goes upstream, and yeah, the estuary is lessening in its depth, and he has a tough, he almost gets you all bogged. First, let's talk about the origins of the project, that standard sort of interview 101. How and why were you drawn to this project and these issues?
Well, it's a neighbor of mine. He lives 100 meters from here. His name is Paul Forsman. He's a film producer, and we chat and we talked during COVID and said, you know, we want to do something about climate change. It's a very important, of course, relevant subject, but none of us really were that impressed with a lot of the climate change films. So we're impressed, but they kind of said the same kind of doom and gloom. And we thought it would be interesting to attack it from another angle and show someone who's in the midst of its daily dealing with climate change, show that person and go on a journey. And then we both thought that Tim Flannery would be an amazing person, because, you know, we see him in TV and we read his books. And so we're just curious about, could Tim Flannery take us on this journey? Would he be interested to do it? I mean, first. And we contacted him, and much to our surprise, he said, yes, I would love to get that message out about climate leadership, actually. And because he wrote a really interesting book called The Climate Cure, and it was about COVID and how if we could organize or mobilize society around COVID, why can't we mobilize society around climate change? And so that's really the beginning of this journey for us.
It's a great point, and I want to get to your sort of insight on Mr. Flannery in a moment, but the film is very much about leadership, and you mentioned in the film there is no Churchill or no Kennedy that are fighting this climate fight, but nor were they faced with the economics of climate change. For a leader to emerge in this debate, they have to take on big mining and big agriculture.
Yeah.
Is that even doable? That's the major challenge here, to overturn intrinsic industrial entities.
You're absolutely right. And it is Saul Griffith, this incredible scientist who is in our film, who says that we really don't have a Churchill. But sometimes I live now in Australia for over 20 years, and people still talk about, for instance, Whitlam. It was almost like he was a leader that managed to convey a vision of the future that people could recognize themselves in that vision. And when it comes to climate change, I don't think we really have that kind of leader that can present a vision for the Australian public, how we can move forward and where we have to put our money, because Australian politics is heartbreakingly so very fragmented and very polarized. And as you rightly say, because there also very strong economical interest, there is very right-wing media. So it's a very treacherous path, really.
Yeah, the film in a key moment points the finger at former leader Mr. Abbott and Mr. Trump as well as coming along at exactly the wrong time for climate change.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's right. I don't know how many people you meet, and when you talk about climate change, they say, oh, if Al Gore actually would have won that election, maybe it would have been very different for us all.
Exactly right. Let's talk about your perspective on Tim Flannery from the time you spent with him and what you observed of him both in an intimate setting at his home there and on the global stage, arguing for climate change and arguing for action to stop it. How would you describe the man? What's your takeaway of Tim Flannery?
Well, you see, I like most people met him through television first, and I think I saw something, or we saw something, both Mark and me, that he was quite in programs that he was presenting. But I got really curious about who is the man behind the presenter, like who is the person that actually just living his life in the Hawkesbury, passionate about this theme. And if we would then, the challenge is to get to know him at the same time he goes on this journey, then I think that he become less as a one-dimensional maybe figure that he sometimes is presented, but like a real human being that is getting criticized and try to still going on. He becomes more how do you say it? He becomes more like identifiable, like someone that you can identify with. We all go through these struggles, and he become more of a human. And then his struggle becomes more important, I think, as a film. Like you feel empathy for him. So that was really kind of a challenge that tried to get that. So, and he was so generous. I mean, he was so lovely, the way that he invited us into his home, his family, and we could be able to shoot him in quite intimate settings.
He does a good pull-up.
Yes. But I know that he wasn't very happy when his boat screwed up in the Hawkesbury.
I bet, yes.
Said, people said, they will attack me and say he can't even fucking drive his boat properly. So I had to really talk him into that we can have that scene, because it's also kind of a symbolism about how we stuck,
of course,
with issues.
He opened the door for the cavalcade of notable people that are in your film. Was it just a phone call from Tim that got those on board, or was that a lot of groundwork from you guys?
Well, it's a little bit of both. I mean, Mark did a lot of groundwork, but it is, of course, also Tim's phone book who kind of open up this world, which is great. Like we get Malcolm Turnbull, we get Al Gore. I mean, it's an extraordinary. It's an extraordinary to have that, behind you, that we can have access to these people. Also because Tim is so well respected, and because he has such a good name, and there's so many people that really treasure him. That it wasn't too hard, even for those really top names. But Al Gore was a little bit of a fluke, actually. We got him in the end, because when we were shooting him, it was like completely mad. You know, we had sent the team home. So nothing's going to happen today, we thought, in Glasgow. And then he got this call and said, you know, Al Gore can meet you. And Tim just said, do you want to see and meet him? I said, yeah, I'd love to meet him, but I also like to. It's too bad we send everybody home. So I went there with my iPhone, and I happened to have a little audio equipment in my pocket. And his Al Gore's handler said, "Okay, Tim, you can get a few minutes with him." And he said, "Maybe you can come and shake his hand to me." And then they came back and said, "No, you can get 3-4 minutes actually talk to him and interview him." So it was just pure fluke that we got that interview. So I was quite nervous when I sat there with my iPhone and had the audio equipment there, and I was sitting in this really weird position, get the right angle, my legs cramping, and I said, "Oh God, I hope it doesn't go too long, because I don't know if I can hold this much longer." And then I don't know, finance, but I see my finger coming into the viewfinder as well. I said, "Oh my God, this is going to shit." But then the interview actually works, I think, pretty well. And we had great editors that could, mask my fingers, so you don't see it that much. But it was a fluke. But it's also exciting when that happens.
I was going to say, such is the life of the documentary filmmaker. They're the moments that you don't plan for, but that suddenly fall in your lap and you've got to make the most of.
Yes. At that time, we were lucky. Yeah.
It was great. It was great. Let me play the devil's advocate here, so you have a chance to respond to issues that will come up. Not another greenie doc, not another doom and gloom doc that's going to tell us what we've already seen about global warming. These have been around since Al Gore did it 10 or 12 years ago or whatever it was. What's the point of difference with climate changes from your perspective?
Well, I hope that we honed in on a theme of inclusiveness, that we can't solve this alone, and maybe we're stuck with a politician going down the same path over and over. Like, we have to have different voices, and I think the film makes it clear that we have to put demands on our politician with better outcomes. And I think that call to action for viewer, I hope they find it inspirational, because that was really one of the tenets when we started, is do an inspirational film. Like, if you watch this, you might not agree with everything that's said in the film, and you might have heard stuff before, but maybe there's something in this film that think that, yeah, I can do that. I can try to get a maybe greener house, or I can put pressure on my politician. That, like, there's something in that enthusiasms you and motivates you to do something. But not writing it on people's head, you got to, but actually inspire people to do it. And I haven't seen too many of those films.
No, you're absolutely right. It's not only a personal journey that Mr. Flannery undertakes, that you capture beautifully in the film, but you're right. It tells a very human message about the role we can play in dealing with climate change. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You've got a national Q&A screening tour starting up. If the listeners go to climatechangesmovie.com/screenings, they'll know where it's happening. You're going to Avoca Beach, you're going to Cowra, Murwillumbah, Newtown and Randwick here in Sydney, then Cremorne and Paddington as well. You're really going to bat for this film and the message it puts forward. Was that always part of the plan, to take it to the people like this?
We were lucky we got into DAF. I don't know if you know who they are, the Documentary Australia Foundation. They took our film, and it takes a couple of films every year and accelerates them. So they got on this pathway to get the best kind of coverage and get working to actually create change with a film. And they have done this amazingly. And we also teamed up with Antidote Films, and they have managed to have this incredible rollout that we have now. And I must say, if people are curious about this and they hopefully see the film and get inspired, I hope they can come on the 17th of September, which is on Sunday. And it's all over Australia, around 5:30, 4:45, it will be shown. But also, after the film, there's a live Q&A with Tim Flannery, Saul Griffith, and Kavita Naidu, and it's hosted by Jael Stone, who's an actress and an activist. And there people can sit wherever you are in Australia in the cinemas. You can write in on your phone and ask questions, and Tim and this team will answer your questions about leadership. And we saw that it could work really well because we premiered at the Sydney Film Festival, and we had Q&As after each of those sessions. And people are very passionate because I think that we have hopefully tapped into the zeitgeist that we have the technology, but why don't we feel that we are progressing fast enough on this issue? And people have questions about that. And then hopefully then people feel, yeah, I want to ask people. I want to ask Sol about how can I electrify my home? I want to ask Tim Flannery, why aren't we moving faster, for instance? So that's the purpose of that. So it's this Sunday as you said, quite a lot of cinemas. Actually, can I say some of the cinemas? Would
absolutely,
that be okay?
Rattle them off. I'm going to put them all in the notes below this, but absolutely say them now. No, please say.
Are you sure? Is that okay?
Of course, yes.
Thank you. So in New South Wales, it's Ritz Cinema, Randwick, Denby, Newtown, the Regent, Murwillumbah. I can't really explain. It's sometimes hard.
That's fine. Murwillumbah, yes.
Avoca Beach Picture Theatre and Civic Centre in Cowra.
Cowra's good. Yep.
New South Wales, and in Victoria we have Leader Cinema, Classic, Elsternwick, Camu Cinemas, Village Cinemas, Jam Factory, Village Cinemas, Geelong, Village Cinemas, Crown Casino, and the Theatre Royal in Castlemaine, showing the film, then Q&A. In Queensland, we have New Farm Cinemas, Dendy, Korparoo, Regal Cinemas in Graceville, Angelica Film Centre in Wollongabba. Tasmania, it's shown in State Cinema in Hobart. South Australia, Palace Nova, Eastern Cinemas, Wallace Cinemas, Mitcham Wallace Cinemas in Mount Barker. And ACT is Dendy Cinema in Canberra. And Western Australia is Luna Leaderville Cinema. So yeah, thank you. So that's really covered the whole rollout.
As you should. It's important that people get there. It's important that people that know the venue. So that's absolutely fine to do that. And I will include them in the notes below and across our socials as well. Johan Gabrrielsson, thank you so much for being part of the Screen Watching Interviews. All the very best with this not only very important film, but wonderfully entertaining film. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you for your generosity, and thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
All right, all the best.
Thank you.